4 weeks now, images like these grimly familiar. Food distribution by GHF, the Israeli US-sponsored Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Figures released today by the Hamas-controlled Gaza government say 549 people have been killed in the first month of the foundation's work, 4,066 injured. In that first month, Israel's Haaretz newspaper documents 19 instances of the Israeli army opening fire near these food handouts. And today, it reports Israeli soldiers saying they were ordered to open fire on crowds of civilians seeking food, even though they posed no threat. The Israeli army says it's now investigating potential war crimes. In the past few hours, the UN Secretary General passed this verdict on Israel and America's aid operation in Gaza.
Any operation that channels desperate civilians into militarized zones is inherently unsafe. It's killing people. It's time for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
And in Israel itself last night, police confronting protesters in central Tel Aviv who are demanding peace in Gaza and the return of the hostages. Under pressure from all this and the US to cut a peace deal with Hamas and end 628 bloody days of war in the Strip, Prime Minister Netanyahu suddenly dropping hints about a possible end to it all.
Along with the release of our hostages and the defeat of Hamas, there is a window of opportunity here that must not be wasted. We must not waste even a single day.
That merest hint of a move for peace, stoking far-right fury. Israel's finance minister posting, "You've got no mandate, Prime Minister." So we drove out from Tel Aviv to get the perspective of the Mossad, Israel's secret spy operation, central to the damage inflicted on Iran's Hezbollah militia in Lebanon, on Iran itself, and on Hamas in Gaza. But Chaim Tormer, former Mossad intelligence boss, says they had to choose between national security and globally accepted standards of morality.
I think that the war in Gaza brought us to a very serious moral dilemmas. What is first? The security of our people or the moral international laws that we were abiding for many, many years? Yes, there is a dilemma. I'm not going to escape it. There is a dilemma.
Note that past tense, moral international laws that we were abiding by for many years. So, if he were still advising the Prime Minister now, what would he say?
If I am again an intelligence officer in a position that I have to make a recommendation to my Prime Minister, I would say, stop it. Stop it by now. We achieved enough.
Would you? You'd say stop it?
Stop it by now.
In Gaza?
Absolutely. On the spot.
But Old Jerusalem's Jewish quarter sends a different message. Make Gaza Jewish again. Mission unaccomplished in Gaza. The president of a conservative think tank here says continue, annihilate Hamas, and that is just the start.
But it requires Israel to take military, governmental, and civic control to ensure that the Gazan people are reassured that there is a new constable in town. There is a new...
Annex Gaza is the only way out of this.
No, not annex Gaza.
Control
Gaza. I hesitate to use the word occupation because that word has been misused in the international discourse.
You're going to be there, you're going to run it.
I mean to take over Gaza.
But it is the White House and Gulf states' vision of peace which will likely count most when it comes to rebuilding Gaza. And tonight, the Israeli Prime Minister has responded to these allegations that his troops are under orders to fire on unarmed civilians in Gaza, describing them as, and I quote, vile blood libel. He continued, "These are malicious lies aimed at slandering the Israeli army, the most moral army in the world." And from in Gaza itself tonight, some updated statistics. The Hamas-controlled authorities there saying 62 more civilians were killed just today by Israeli armed forces, of whom they say 10 were lining up to get desperately needed food aid. Back to you.
Alex Thomson in Tel Aviv. Well, a short time ago, I spoke to the Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesman, Dr Majed Al-Ansari, who's also an advisor to the Prime Minister. And I began by asking what Qatar's role and hopes are now in trying to get a sort of Gaza ceasefire process going again.
Well, you know, Christian, we have been working on this for the past 2 years, almost 2 years, to get a deal between both sides. And we have said countless times that the parameters are there, the agreement is there, the language, we believe, is quite practical, and there is an agreement between both sides initially, but it has always been political posturing and escalation on the ground that has delayed reaching an agreement. We want to use the momentum now created by the ceasefire that we helped broker between Iran and Israel to build on that and find ourselves in a way where we can start talks between both sides in the Hamas-Israel talks.
And could you give us a sense of what the outline is? What would happen after the ceasefire? What would happen to the governance in Gaza?
Well, I think we are all in agreement that there needs to be a Palestinian model of governance in Gaza that is different than the one that was there before. We are also in agreement that it needs to be not a reoccupation of Gaza, but it's a restructuring of Gaza in a way that would make its people first of all, have agency in reconstructing their own land and in reunifying the Palestinian lands into one Palestinian governance model, and for the international community to jump in the reconstruction and in supporting the Palestinian people. But in order to do that, first of all, we need calm in Gaza. We need to stop the humanitarian suffering. The situation there has become unbearable in any respect. And what we are seeing today is the daily massacres of people who are there asking for food and trying to get aid is just something that the international community cannot accept.
But what's possible? You know, would Hamas people and leadership be able to remain?
We are the mediators on this. Our role is to bring about innovative ideas, to put them on the table, and to protect the dialogue that is taking place through providing these ideas in the right environment. And I don't think it's right for us to comment on that.
I mean, as you know, lots of people believe that Qatar was responsible effectively for supporting the Hamas administration in the past, for making payments, for enabling them. What is your reply to those people who say that, you know, your state enabled all of this?
That was a process in which we have helped reconstruct Gaza after devastating wars, and we have hoped maintain the peace through prosperity in Gaza and through providing hope for the people who live in Gaza in complete coordination with the international community and with Israel. This did not happen in secret. It did not happen in bags of cash. It happened in a clear process that had oversight from the international community, from the United Nations, from agencies of the United Nations, and from Israel. So we did not shy away from talking about this process. This process was completely on record.
Can I ask you then about Iran? What was your country's role in mediation, in brokering that ceasefire?
We were working on this for a really long time. You know, we have came to deals in the past between Iran and the United States. Now, the day we were attacked here by Iran, where my country was attacked by 19 missiles and bravely defended by our men in uniform through 3 Patriot systems, that at that time exactly our diplomats were on the phone, reaching an agreement with all sides and pressuring for a ceasefire to happen. Exactly at the moment where the attack stopped, we got a call from the President of the United States, who stated that there is a possibility of an agreement and that we should start working with all parties. And immediately between Washington, Israel, and Iran, we started talking to all sides in order to get a deal in place. And this is what happened the next morning.
Have they apologized? And if not, do you want them to?
The president of Iran called on His Highness the Emir and apologized to the Qatari people. He reassured Qatar that it was not a target, but we made it very clear, His Highness made it very clear to him in the call that this is not accepted. We condemned the attack very strongly, and we reserve the right to take action, especially diplomatically and legally.
How realistic is it that we could have a future one day in which Iran, Israel, and Saudi Arabia are all able to peacefully coexist?
We are always optimistic, we are always hopeful, and we are always championing peace in the region.
And do you think ultimately accountability may be the price of peace, or is accountability also possible?
There are a lot of prices to be paid for peace. There are a lot of concessions that need to be made for peace. We cannot forget the rights of those who've been wronged all these years. We cannot forget the human stories, the catastrophes, and the lives that have been lost as a result of wars. But we can forgive, and we can work together in this region towards peace. And we have seen that in the past in so many cases. We have examples, positive examples in the region that we can build upon, and it's only a political decision at the end that will get us through the threshold and into the safe haven of peace, which we are all working towards.
Dr. Majed Al-Ansari, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.